Hello world, welcome back to the stream. We left off last time. We had just built, finished building our config parsing code for the initial config file we put together was a simple monster description file. So here it is. And right now our monsters don't have a ton of properties, so this will grow as time goes on. But this is what we've got so far. We have some visibility properties, and then we have some movement properties. The next thing we're going to add shortly, maybe not this stream, maybe if we're super productive this stream we'll get to it, but if not this stream, then the next one we'll start adding combat properties and health to it. What I want to do first is I would like to add another config file that describes the properties of a dungeon level. Specifically, well, let's just go ahead and start it up. So, well, our top level entity name will be level. Let's just save this right now. So this will be, I guess, level config. Levels CFG. Did we be consistent? Yes, it's levels with an S. So we do pluralize it. Okay, so we'll do levels. And so the type of information that we'd like to store about a level, well, I guess the first thing we'll do is well, let's see. So, do we want to store this about the levels? Do we want to have a slightly different data structure? So for level information, we might want to store things like the maximum number of monsters that can spawn. So max monsters, I suppose. But do we want to do this on a level by level basis? I don't think that we do. I would rather describe maybe we'll make this a more varied config file than the monsters one. Where monsters, it was all monster entities. Maybe we'll vary this a bit. We'll have some level information, and then we could have some what I want is for each monster, maybe we just store this at the monster property. When I'm starting a new level, I want to randomly generate the monsters for that level. So different monsters are going to appear more frequently on certain levels and less frequently on others. So like the weaker monsters are going to appear more frequently at the initial levels, and then as we get deeper and deeper into the dungeon, the more substantial monsters will have greater probability to appear, and the lesser monsters will, they'll be hiding in the corner so you won't see them. They're hiding from the bad monsters too. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to express those types of settings. And so, let's see. I'd like to do maybe. I guess the first thing we should figure out is how many levels we want in our dungeon. Like, what is the deepest level? And hey, Newton 1, how's it going? Is this from 0? Does that mean, am I coding the game from scratch? Yes, I am. However, this is probably I think it's the 22nd stream, so I'm not starting from scratch today. I'm just continuing development. But welcome. So maybe the max monsters. Right now I'm trying to define config files so that that'll be read in when I'm doing level generation, and will feed some of the procedural generation of those levels. So I kind of want to have pairs of values here. So maybe my max monsters, like starting with level 1, the maximum number of monsters you'll see on a level is 10. And then maybe we'll start jumping. So like level 3, it'll jump to 15. And after level 5, you'll see 20. And then we'll just maybe that'll be good enough to start. So these are going to be value pairs. So if you're at level 1, or if you're no greater than level 1, you'll see a maximum of 10 monsters. If you're no greater than level 3, you'll see 15, so on and so forth. For the, let's see, let's just call this monster prob. Level monsters. And we'll do this. This will be another kind of property pair. So we'll do monster prob. But we need to do this at the monster level. So maybe the proper place to put it is in here with this monster information. That seems to make more sense. Let's do appearance probability. And so goblins will be, again, we'll have the pairs. So for level 1, or maybe let's do it up to level 3, chances of you finding a goblin are 50%. So let's copy this. So we're going to need this for all our monsters. Let's say your kobolds are 30% and 20% for your serpents. And then once you get to level 5, you know, maybe this drops down to like 10% because we're on to different baddies now. I'm not so sure about this, but let's at least code up some initial values. We can even add another monster here. Let's do that. let's add a bigger monster that you might see some more substantial. So like put like a troll in here or something. We'll put a capital T, and maybe it'll be like grayish. So we'll make it like all 7s. And so from level 3, like you won't see the troll, that'll have 0%, but then you'll have a, what do we got, 20, 35, so 65% chance. Because what we want is all of these numbers to add up to 100 when we construct our probability tables. And so this goes away. And maybe for now we just have a maximum number of monsters. I'm sure that we'll come up with other things that we'll want to store as a property of a level. So maybe we're just good with that. So let's parse this appearance probability. So this is our, we're inside of our level init. And we've generated the map, and now we're parsing our monster. Well, I'm sorry, this is not where we are initially parsing the config file, but this is where we're using it to generate those monsters. So what we're going to want to do is previously we were just doing like a really brain dead monster generation. We were just looping through a list of all of our monsters and generating one of them. So we want to be smarter about that now. So we still want to loop through the list. So let's save this. But instead of do this, we'll grab the config entity, information from the list. So now what we want to do is grab config entity value from our entity, and the one we're interested in is this appearance probability. So we'll grab that. And so that'll return this string of common delimited values. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to parse that into a list of level probability pairs. And we're going to use our good old string toke call again, I believe. Let me just check one thing. I just want to see one
It's almost become a
little thing. Okay. So what we're doing That's what we want. Config file parse, right? So let's open our config. Because I want to just refresh my memory with so here's str toke, string token. We're going to hand it a buffer, and then we're going to hand it the tokens that we're going to break on. Jump back. Alt. I always got to remember that. Alt minus sign to jump back where I was. It's super handy, and I. Okay, so our appearance probability is going to be a character string. Do we want to make a copy of that because string toke does mutate it? I don't. We probably should. So let's do. Here's a good copy. So we'll do this. We'll make a copy of it because we want to own it. And then, so what we want to do is free our copy down at the bottom. So what we're going to want for this is a structure that will give us a level number and a probability for that level. So maybe we just need, I'm going to do just a single dimensional array where the index is the level number, where the index is the level number -1, I guess, and then we're going to have a level 0 in our dungeon. I think I want that to be a world state variable. And it's just going to be let's define max levels. Let's just call it 20. We'll have 20 levels in our dungeon. And we'll do, this will be monster prob. It's part of our world state, the probability that a monster will appear on a particular dungeon level. So we'll do Where's my string toke? It takes the buffer and it takes the level equals str toke, and it'll take copy, and we'll do, oops, these are comma delimited, and then immediately we'll read the next thing, which will be probability, string toke again. We want it to still work with the copy, so just send in null, because it saves what it's working with. So this will read 2 at a time. So we want to do this. Excuse me. I guess I don't. I guess I want to do this while so we'll do this. We'll read in the level and we'll test and see if we got anything. If level is not equal to null, then we'll read in our probability. Otherwise we're done. So in this case, we're gonna read in the probability and then stuff that information in. We need to convert it, of course, first. So we'll use this A to I. So we'll do level num equals A to I. We'll hand it level. And we'll say I32 prob is A to I of our probability. And we'll take that and say monster probability of level num -1, because index array starts at 0, and we're just starting our level numbers at 1, is prob num. And so once we loop through that bit, we'll clean up our copy and we'll go on to the next element in the list. And I think we're going to want to move this because this is, we don't need to read this every time we generate a level. We only want to read this bit once. So I may move it to immediately after where we're parsing the monster config. That'll probably make more sense, but for now this will work. I'll leave a note. So move it somewhere that will be executed at once. It doesn't to every level gen. Let's just make sure this builds. Oh, I don't have a... Oh, yeah, my E is redefined, so maybe we'll just move it now. Where did I generate that? World state init is where it makes more sense. So let's move it to world state init. So let's add a better comment here. This is going to be generate our monster appearance probability. Great, so we parse the monster config file right here, and then we put it to some good use here. And we'll add a to-do here for other one-time data. Just really a note that we may or may not use it, add stuff there in the future. Okay, so back to our level init. We now have a global data structure that contains probability information for how often our monsters should appear on certain levels. And so the next thing that we want to do is put that probability information to good use. How's everyone doing this morning? Or this afternoon, I guess, depending on where you are in the world. Okay, so let's generate monsters based on those probabilities. One thing that I noticed that this function doesn't take is what level we're generating, which would be really useful information. Because we haven't yet built in the concept of moving up and down between dungeon levels. Let me figure out where this is being called from. I suspect it's somewhere in here, in our top level. So, create a level, place our player in it. We handed our player. I feel like as part of our game state, we should have the current level that we're on. The number of the current level. So let's do that. We've got current level. Oh, you know what? Maybe we just add it. What's in dungeon level? Let's just add it right here, and it's a let's just add it as part of the dungeon level structure. So what we can then do we still want to hand this a number. Let's add 1 here. We'll hard code it and we'll put a note to change this. The actual level where we should generate. So this will take level, call it level to generate, and we malloc our new level. We'll set level equal to level to generate. And now we have a level number to use to generate our monsters. So all of what we're going to want to do is parse wait a minute. I didn't do this very smartly. Because I am parsing that probability information for each monster, and the way that I've coded it, I will be overwriting what did I call it? World state init. Okay. So yeah, the problem here is that I'm going to overwrite the monster probability with I need a 2-dimensional array of monster probability because I need one dimension to be the represent each of the monsters, and I need the other to generate to represent the data I'm trying to store. Hey Miguel, how's it going? Is this Windows? Yes, I'm currently developing on Windows. I am. However, the game that I'm building will work on Windows. It will also, I have a Mac and I've built it, I compile it for Mac as well. So theoretically it will also work on Unix, or on Linux, or any other flavors of Unix. Anything that supports the SDL libraries for audio and video, basically, it will work. How do you compile in 64 bits? Well, I believe you specify that via a compiler directive, and you also have to have a compiler that supports that. I don't know that I'm actually specifying it. Let me see. This is the build file. So it doesn't look like I'm specifying. So it probably builds in 64-bit by default these days. I'm not using Bing. This actually builds with, I've got Visual Studio installed on Windows, so it should, it could be. I may be using the 32-bit version of SDL. I should see what, just look in that folder real quick. Yeah, I am building in 32 bits. No worries. Questions are not a distraction. They are encouraged and fully supported to the best of my knowledge and ability. Alright, so I need to make this thing a two-dimensional array because I totally botched it the first time and forgot. So, Zubik, thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. If anybody else is interested in getting stream notifications every time I go live, you hit that follow button. I appreciate it. Do we have a max? We don't have a constant that defines the maximum number of monsters that or the monsters that we have. I could hard code it for now and then dynamically allocate this thing later, which I'm kind of inclined to do at this point. Alright, I'm going to be super lazy right now because it's Saturday morning and I haven't had my full intake of coffee yet, so I'm going to write a note here to come back later, probably off stream because this is boring stuff, and make it this dynamically. Actual count of monsters config file. Alright, so the first dimension in this array is our monster number, which declare all the structures and header files separately. Yes. Well, what I'm doing a single compilation unit build. So basically, everything gets compiled into one giant single compilation unit instead of a bunch of header files and object files that are then knit together with the linker. But it's certainly another option to declare all of those data structures in a header file that is shared around. Basically, the way that my files are included, it's essentially the same thing, because a header file basically gets the compiler will insert the contents of that header file into the compilation unit. So if you look at in my main file, I'm basically including all of these C files. In the order that they need to be, but I do have a couple header files. It's just the way I've chosen to do this. It's a fairly small project, and so our monster probability. We're going to need some kind of counter that lets us know where to put this into the. We could use our monster ID. Which we probably should. So what we'll do, we'll parse out our monster ID to indicate where to store the information. So char monster ID config entity value. It'll take our entity and it'll take monster ID. Monster underscore ID. A2I monster ID. And we will use that. So it'll be, again, our monster IDs start at 1, so we're actually going to stuff it in at monster ID -1. Okay, so now our monster probability should be actually useful for what we're trying to do. So we'll go jump up to level init. Will it only work on PCs? No, it also compiles and will run on Macs. However, the build file, there's a separate build file for Unix-like machines. And that, well, I can show you that real quick. Where is that? I don't remember what I called it. Oh, it's the makefile, of course, on Unix. So this is what the makefile looks like on Unix systems. I haven't built it recently, like in the last couple of weeks, but when I was I did build it about a month ago and haven't added any code that shouldn't make it continue to build on Mac or Linux. And all this is in the, it's all in the repository on GitHub, which is, should be right above my head here on the stream. And it's also in the notes below. So if you want to grab the source code for this and play along at home or mod it to your heart's content, you can go ahead and do that. All right. Let's see, one sec. Hax is Flash, right? I have no idea what Hax is. Not sure. Look it up. I've heard of it, but I don't. It's a cross-platform toolkit. Native apps to every major platform without hassle. If it's, I don't think it would be Flash, because if it runs on iOS, which it lists as one of its platforms, it would not be using Flash because Flash is not supported on iOS. So it looks like it's a cross-compiler, so it'll build to something that is then translated to native code. Is there a specific reason I've picked GNU 11? No, and it actually, I believe it uses, so the directive for the makefile, it just uses the GNU 11 standard. It doesn't actually use the GNU 11 compiler. It's just the standard. I wanted to use C11, and so I specified that because I wanted to use some of the newer features of the C language. But on Mac, it'll actually use CLang and build using the CLang that comes with Xcode. On Linux, I'm not sure what it would use. It may actually use the GNU compiler on Linux. I have not tried building this on Linux, so if anybody out there wants to give it a go, have at it. All right, so we have finally our monster information. So what we want to do is run through our probabilities and use those to figure out what monsters we're generating. Consult. And I'm gonna apologize. I'm gonna have to have a time stop in about 15 minutes. But let's see what we can do in the time given, and then might come back at it later. But I've got some stuff I need to get done. So the first thing we need to do is we have not parsed this levels config. Maybe I'll add that stuff off stream. I'll add that to my notes to parse level config, because that's just boring config file parsing. For now, I'm just going to say that our max in the monsters, I'll do I32 monster to add is 10. 10, not 1. And then we'll say for int for I32 have a to-do in here, grab the actual numbers from the level config. So let's write the code that we're interested in. May have to have a function for this so that this doesn't get too long. So we're going to want to consult the monster data to determine what monster to generate, and then when we determine what monster to generate, then we are going to want a reference to that monster's config so that we can then run through this stuff here. So let's say that we get back I just want to look at my config and see what I call this. So it's just I can make it anything. So let's say we need let's say we get back a monster ID, and we'll say monster for level, and we'll give it our level number, which we have, which is level to generate. And so that'll look at the data structure and give us the ID of the monster that we want to generate. And then we're going to use that to get our monster entity, and we're going to say, I want I guess it would be like monster config for ID. I'll give it the monster ID. And we also give it the config. So this will hand us the monster, the entity, the config entity for the monster with this ID. And then we can do this. We don't need this anymore. So we're gonna so we need to write two functions. We need to write monster for level, and we need to write get monster config. And I'm just going to drop those in right here and then move them to their appropriate position. So we know that this returns a config entity, and it's called get monster config, and it takes a config and it takes an ID. And then we're going to want to have a monster for level, and it takes an I32 level. All right, so to generate click on that. Let's do this one. This one's easier to do. We're going to loop through all the monsters in our config and return the config entity that corresponds to the monster with the ID that we're looking for. Actually, let me pull up that real quick. Explain the trade-offs of Unity builds. Most articles praise it for faster rebuild compile times, better code optimizations. So downsides. So it's I'm not the super expert on this, but it definitely for smaller projects, it's nice like this. It's nice because there's fewer files you need to deal with, and it definitely makes it easier on the linker. But you're basically I agree that you run into trouble if you have different files that depend on each other. If you need to be a little bit careful about how you're ordering your includes, and if you have files that kind of depend on each other, then it doesn't necessarily work. But I'm just using this is a small project, and I'm just using it to not deal with header files. And probably there are people that will argue much more eloquently the pros of Unity builds. And if you look up like Unity builds if you Google it or something, you can see that there's quite a debate, both for and against. And so, I mean, I think at a certain point, just like any other things with programming, it comes down to what works for you. So, go with what works for you. It would be my advice. And if you are working on a team or working with other folks, then come to an agreement as a team what's going to work best for the team. What was I doing? Okay, so I was just going to look real quick at... Did I get... not launch? I just want to look at some code that I have overwritten with this session, so I just want to see what it looked like. Diff, because I want that loop. I'm borrowing some code for myself. Sorry. Alright, so we're looping. We're going to pull this. So that'll give us our config entity, and so then our config entities have name and key value pairs. So we're going to want to grab the key value pair, and then we're going to want to find the key for our monster ID. So we're just going to use this handy dandy function that I already wrote, and I'm a little bit congested today, so as you can tell, it's affecting my thought processes. Alright, so we'll do monster ID, and this will be, I'm going to grab the monster ID, which is there. Okay, yeah. And we're going to skip this step right here and just do this. So if our monster ID is equal to the ID that we're looking for, then we've found what we need and we're going to get out of here. So I'm just going to return entity. And so then if If we fall out of this loop, then we have not found it, so we're going to return null. So up here in our get monster config, we need the caveat that we're only adding the monster if our monster entity is not null. So I guess for testing this, we could just do return. Let's just return 1. We should just always generate goblins, huh? And maybe for next stream, I'll just leave a note for. I'll do this off stream, maybe implement this. Let's build some issues. So game 373 says uninitialized E. Yep, because it's not called. Oh, it's not called. I don't want this. This becomes monster. Doesn't like 369 because get monster config is defined after. Oops. It doesn't know what this function is, so it's assuming it's returning an int, which is what C does when it assumes of any function. Let's just put it right here, and I'm going to put another to do. This somewhere. Oh, that's in dark. Doesn't like line 162 because I don't, not giving it the level here. Alright, it builds. So, try compiling your game on Linux, failed with a linker errors. You can't find glibpow. Yeah, so, oh, cool. Just added libmath and it works fine. Awesome. That's cool. Excellent, Joe Fish. Good job. I'll make a note of that. Okay, so I'm gonna run this, and it worked. So what we should see is nothing but goblins, and there should be 10 of them lurking somewhere. So we found one. Oh, there's another one. They're gonna trap us. Sure. Oh, there's another one. Oh, and now we're trapped. Okay, so there's no combat implemented yet, which is the next step in the process. So I can't move anymore because I can't move through NPCs. So we're stuck on this level. But it looks like we have more than the 3 initial monsters that we were hard coding, and it does look like they are all generated as goblins, which is monster ID number 1, which you can see right here, which is what we had hard coded. So next stream, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, well, I may take care of some of this stuff off stream, because I want to get to the building the combat system on stream. That's way more interesting than implementing a random generation for monsters. So I may just code this off stream and then quickly walk through it on stream next time. I'm going to build this monster for level generator, which will take into account all of the data in the appearance probabilities, and so then what other notes did I have in left? Yeah, so I'm just going to clean up some of these to-dos to-do notes that I added off stream, and then we'll go through it real quickly on stream next time, and then jump right into the next. That will wrap up everything for our monsters item over here, and the next item, as you can see, is combat, which is going to be fun. So, like I said, I got a hard stop right now, but I appreciate everyone watching, and archives of this and all the previous streams are available on YouTube. I'm on Twitter at PDCodes if you want to hit me up with questions or comments, and the source code is available on GitHub. I will commit the latest code right after get off stream here. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me, hit the follow button, and you'll get notified the next time I go live for streaming. I also usually tweet out a notification before I go live. But hit that follow button, it's much appreciated, and I hope to maybe get in another stream this weekend, maybe later today, maybe tomorrow. If not, I'll probably be back Monday evening. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.